In this video, we take a look at the top 15 shaders for Minecraft 1.21.8. The downloads to all of these shaders can be found in the link in the description down below and in the pinned comments, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Starting on this video, Sean, we have the Amethyst shader. When you load into the Amethyst shader, here's how things do look like. So things honestly do look pretty cool. We do get way more brighter lighting, and also we get these awesome 3D looking clouds over here, which is definitely a nice touch. So yeah, this shader is definitely going to make all the colors of your Minecraft world pop out a little bit more, and let's go ahead and look at the shadows. So the shadows are definitely made to be more darker and defined, which is another major benefit. But let's go ahead and set this shader to sunset really quickly so you can see how it does look like. All right, so here's how the sunset looks like, and yo, the sunset is absolutely beautiful. So as you're able to tell, we get all of the light from the sun being reflected on the terrain and the water and stuff like that, and we even do get stars slowly emerging out of the night sky, which is honestly such a good highlight. Next up, we have the Exposa 5 release shader. When you load into this shader, here's how things do look like. So you will notice that a lot of the textures and like the lighting is made to be completely different. So one thing that I immediately noticed is that we kind of get like a slight fog effect in the distance. I don't know if you guys are able to see it, but that is definitely a pretty neat touch if you do ask me. And if you go ahead and look at the clouds, you will notice that the clouds are made to be photorealistic. But yeah, on top of that, we do have realistic water as well. So here's how the water does look like. It honestly does look pretty cool. And yo, check this out. The light from the sun is going through the water over here, and that is just such a cool thing in my opinion. But anyways, let's go ahead and actually set this bad boy to sunset really quickly. All right, so here's how the sunset does look like. As you're able to tell, the sun is incredibly bright and it's being reflected on like the terrain, the water and stuff like that. And we even do get a little bit of light rays as well. To be honest, I'm not really a big fan of like the blurring effect that they do, but I know some people will like it, so definitely go ahead and check out this shader. Next up, we have the Fast PBR version 2.0 shader. When you load into this shader, here's how things do look like. Now this shader is actually meant to like not cause too much lag on your device. So me personally, I am running an RTX 2060, which is honestly getting very old. So my graphics card's an RTX 2060. It's like one of the first RTX graphics cards that did come out. So it definitely did come out quite a while ago, but as you're able to tell, we still are able to get pretty decent performance on this shader, and we also do get these photorealistic clouds over here, which do look pretty nice. And in general, we get brighter lighting, more saturated colors, and of course darker defined shadows. So if we go to the water, here's how the water does look like. The water is also made to be incredibly realistic, and we do have a reflection of the sun on the water over here as well. But anyways, let's go underwater and see how things do look like. So things do look pretty good. They definitely do look pretty good if I do say so myself. All right, but here's how the sunset does look like. As you're able to tell, we do have the nice bright sun over here, and it's emitting many different shades of red, orange, etc., and it's being reflected on the terrain, the water, and it definitely does look pretty nice. Next up, we have the light shaders. When you load into the light shaders, here's how things do look like. Now again, this is another shader that is meant for lower end PCs, so you still are able to run it even if your device isn't the most powerful one out there, because some of these shaders in this video can honestly just cause a lot of lag, but not this one. You should be able to run it without any problems or anything like that. So I am running it pretty smoothly, and one thing I do notice is that we do get these awesome realistic clouds over here, and here's how the sun does look like. So the sun is like a diamond shape over here, and you can see that there's a bunch of light rays that are coming out of the sun as well, which is definitely a nice little detail. And my favorite thing about this shader, hands down, has to be the water. The water is made to be incredibly realistic, and if you go ahead and look very closely, you'll notice that the water will have like this really cool like wavy animation, which is honestly such a neat touch. And if you go underwater, here's how things do look like. So things honestly do look pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and set this bad boy to sunset right over here so that you're able to see how it does look like. So here is how the sunset looks like, and yo, this has to be one of the most beautiful sunsets in Minecraft. We got the sun over there, we got all these different light rays coming out, and of course the light from the sun is being reflected on the water. Next up, we have the noble shaders. When you load into the noble shaders, here's how things do look like. So you will notice that things honestly do look pretty good. We do get brighter lighting and of course darker defined shadows. Now on top of that, we also do get these photorealistic clouds over here, which is definitely pretty good. So this is basically your standard shader. It's basically exactly what you would expect from a regular Minecraft shader, which, you know what, isn't really bad. But anyways, let's go ahead and look at the water. The water is definitely a highlight for me. It looks absolutely spectacular, and we do have a reflection of the sun on the water over here as well. Anyways, let's go ahead and set this bad boy to sunset right up here, and here's how it does look like. So we do have the sunset right over there, and as you're able to tell, it is emitting out many different shades of colors, and it's all being reflected on the water right over here. And this is honestly a really nice sunset. Next up, we have the Opal shader. So this is another shader that's not going to make anything too crazy. You're still able to tell that it's Minecraft, and you still are able to run it pretty smoothly. So I do like how the colors aren't overly saturated, which is definitely, you know, a major benefit. Some of these shaders, they make the colors way too saturated, but one thing that's a little bit weird about this shader is like the leaves seem to be a little bit glitched out. They're like a lot thinner than usual. But yeah, that is definitely something to keep in mind. And anyways, here's how the water does look like. So the water definitely does look pretty standard. I don't think they make any significant changes or anything like that, but we do have a reflection of the sun on the water over here, which is honestly pretty nice. And if we go underwater, here's how things do look like. Things definitely do look pretty good. Yo, you can see the sun like emitting out rays inside of the water. Man, that is honestly pretty cool. But anyways, here is how the sunset does look like. So the sunset does look pretty awesome, and you will notice that there's many different shades of orange, yellow, etc., and it's being reflected on the water as well. Next up, we have the Open 4 ES shader. When you load into this shader, here's how things do look like. So this is another shader that is not meant to lag your device or anything like that. So it is basically meant to run on any PC that can actually run Minecraft. So guys, if that does sound interesting, then I highly suggest getting this shader. But anyways, here's how things do look like. So you'll notice that all the colors are basically made to be standard, although I do notice that they do add like some slight shadows or anything like that. They aren't super dark or defined. However, you are still able to notice that, yep, we do have like shadows over here, which do look pretty nice. And the water definitely does look pretty, you know what, okay, I'm not gonna lie, the water does seem to be a little bit glitched out. There's like a bunch of lines coming out of here and stuff like that. But here's how the underwater does look like. You actually are basically able to see everything underwater, which is honestly such a cool benefit. But anyways, here's how the sunset does look like. It definitely does look pretty standard. And again, this is really meant for like lower end devices, but it's still a pretty nice shader. Next up, we have the Revia Alpha shader. When you load into this shader, here's how things do look like. So you will immediately notice that this shader definitely has like a more warmer feel to it, which is honestly pretty nice. And we do get way more darker and defined shadows as well. Now, one thing I really do like is the water. The water is honestly made to be very realistic. You're able to see we do have a bunch of reflections over here, and yo, that is actually pretty nice. Like, we get this really realistic wavy water animation, which I'm definitely a huge fan of. But anyways, here is how the underwater does look like. It definitely does look pretty good, if I do say so myself. And here is how the clouds do look like. The clouds are made to be photorealistic as well, and we get this really cool like sun flare. I don't know if you guys are able to notice, but if we move around, we do get this sun glare, which is honestly pretty sweet. But anyways, let's go ahead and set this one to sunset. And here is how the sunset does look like. So the sun does look pretty nice, and as you're able to tell, it's emitting out a bunch of different colors over here, and it's all being reflected on the water. Next up, we have the Shrimple shader. When you load into the Shrimple shader, here's how things do look like. So as you're able to tell, this shader has a really strong fog effect. So if you guys like that type of fog effect, then this is definitely a great shader for you to go ahead and play on. So anyways, here is how things do look like. So again, we really do have a strong fog effect everywhere we do go, and here's how the water does look like. So the water honestly does look very realistic, and here's how the underwater looks like as well. And okay, things actually look pretty nice underwater, man. Like, that is definitely another major benefit. And if you take a look at any of the textures closely, you'll notice that they're made to be like more detailed and more like 3D, if that does make any sense. So that there is another major highlight. But if we were to go ahead and look at the sunset, here is how things would look like. So I think this sunset's a little bit glitched out because I literally cannot see the sun anywhere in sight. So guys, that is definitely something to consider before downloading this shader. Next up, we have the Solass shader. When you load into the Solass shader, here's how things do look like. So one thing I did notice is that all the colors are made to be way more saturated, which honestly does look pretty nice, and we do get brighter lighting everywhere we do go. So again, we do have this other weird glitch where like the leaves appear to be way more thinner than they actually are. So again, just keep that in mind. But anyways, here's how the water does look like. The water definitely does look pretty good, and we do get photorealistic clouds as well. And yo, this shader actually does look pretty nice when it's next to the cherry blossom biome. So that's honestly a nice highlight. And we do get this like flare effect as well, which is honestly really, really cool. So anyways, let's go ahead and actually set this bad boy to sunset right over here. All right, and here's how the sunset does look like. As you're able to tell, there's many different shades like pink, orange, etc. And this is a very aesthetic shader, and I actually think I'm going to be using this for my own survival world. Next up, we have the Spooka shader. Now, it is almost Halloween season, guys, and I actually did get a shader that is perfectly fitting for that season. So here's how things do look like, and this is basically made to make Minecraft look like a horror game. And oh my goodness, it actually does do a pretty good job. So let me go ahead and put some torches everywhere. And yo, like, even when you put torches, the lighting is not that bright. So this is definitely going to make for some pretty, interesting horror gameplay and stuff like that. So if you want to add like a spooky element to your Minecraft world or anything like that, then this is definitely the shader for you. And here's how the water does look like as well. The water does look pretty good. And here's how the sky looks like. So as you're able to tell, we do have a sun over there, but it's being completely covered by all these clouds over here, and that's how it creates this really awesome and like spooky effect. Next up, we have the stereo default texture pack. When you load into the shader, here's how things do look like. So again, things basically look like the vanilla Minecraft. Now this shader is obviously made for lower NPCs, so that basically any computer that can run Minecraft can also run this shader, but we still do get some slight changes as well. For example, we do get these awesome looking shadows over here, and we do get slightly brighter lighting. And if you're wondering how the sunset does look like, here is how it looks like. So the sunset definitely does look pretty standard. Again, it's not really meant to like lag your game or anything like that. It's not meant to be crazy. However, it is meant for lower end devices. Next up, we have the T shader. When you load into the T shader, here's how things do look like. So this is another shader that is meant to optimize your game. It's not meant to cause any lag or anything like that, but this one is definitely more on like the higher lower end, if that does make any sense. Here's how things do look like in this village. For example, you're able to notice that we actually do get some shadows over here, and I don't know how to describe it, but like this shader is subtle, but you still are able to notice that they do make a lot of good differences, which is honestly pretty cool. Next up, we have the Voyager shaders. So here's how the Voyager shaders do look like. The Voyager shaders honestly do look pretty nice. So here is how the village does look like, the same village we were in. So as you're able to tell, like every single one of these shaders just brings a completely different vibe to the table. So as you're able to tell, we do get way more brighter lighting, saturated colors, and darker defined shadows. Here's how the clouds do look like, and we do have the sun over there. So here's how the water does look like, and the water, yo, I don't know how to describe it, but the water looks like so smooth, if that does make any sense. And of course, we do have a reflection of the sun over there, but here's how the underwater looks like. And yo, I gotta be honest, bro, you can barely see anything over here, so that is definitely something to take note of. But let's go ahead and actually take a look at the sunset. So here's how the sunset does look like. As you're able to tell, the sun is being reflected on the water, and it creates this absolutely stunning effect. Next up, we have the BSL shaders. When you load into the BSL shaders, here's how things do look like. Now, this shader is an absolute classic. It's been around for a really long time now, and that is for good reason. This shader honestly does give you the best of both worlds. You still are able to get absolutely stunning graphics. However, it doesn't completely lag your game or anything like that. So that's why I had to include this one in the #1 spot. So yep, here's how things do look like. Things look absolutely beautiful. We do get more darker defined shadows, we get more colorful lighting and stuff like that, and of course photorealistic clouds. So if you're wondering how the sunset does look like, here is how it looks like. It definitely does look pretty good, if I do say so myself. We get so many different shades of like yellow everywhere, and it's all being reflected on the water. Remember guys, the downloads to all these shaders can be found in the link in the description down below and in the pinned comment. Please like, comment, subscribe. See you later, French fries.